And now then, the first question is, how does the Islamic world or the Muslim world perceive the conflict surrounding Constantinople and the conversion of churches into masajid or mosque? The Arabic word is masjid, the plural is masajid, but the British coined a very funny word, they call it mosque. I don't know, French, which garbage bin that word came from. Anyhow, and how does the Muslim world perceive the conversion of Hagia Sophia into a masjid? Hagia Sophia, of course, the great cathedral in Constantinople. My answer is, for 600 years, when the Ottoman Empire was a dominant force in the world of Islam, until the First World War, 1914 to 1918, 100 years ago, the world of Islam was largely in support of the Ottoman Empire, and they took the propaganda of the Ottoman Empire and they swallowed it, and they perceived the Ottoman Empire as a great champion of Islam, fighting battles for the sake of Islam to extend the frontiers of Islam, and so all Muslims were clapping. And this, which I describe as brainwashing, continued uninterrupted for 600 years. I am not aware of any significant opinion in the world of Islam which challenged this universally held view of the Ottoman Empire as a great champion of Islam, fighting wars on behalf of Islam to extend the frontiers of Islam. It is only, this is my opinion, and I can be wrong, because I have not studied that long 600 years of history. I don't even have the knowledge of the language, the Ottoman language, to be able to study that history. I know of that history from the English language, and it's usually Western scholars who write on the Ottoman Empire. I have read some books on the Ottoman Empire. Now then, what needs to be explained to the Orthodox Christian world? I do not use the name Serbia. I do not refer to Serbs. I am not so much interested in their national identity. When will they learn that? Your national identity is yours. I am more interested in you as an Orthodox Christian, because it is as an Orthodox Christian that you are located in the Quran, not as a Serb, as an Orthodox Christian. So it is only in recent times, and largely, I believe, through my Islamic eschatological scholarship, that this subject is now being re-examined in broad daylight and in the internet. It was in the year 2011, and I was here in Kuala Lumpur, and I was invited to lecture at the International Islamic University in Gombak in Kuala Lumpur. I don't think they would invite me again, not the International Islamic University. I don't think they will invite me again. Once they learned of my profile, that's it. But on that occasion when I was invited, there was a gathering of a few thousand students, including many professors. And we were in the Grand Masjid of the International Islamic University, when I lectured on the subject of the conquest of Constantinople in the end time. And that was 13 years ago, in 2011, and this is 2024. And in that lecture, I began the process of reopening the subject of the conquest of Constantinople to challenge the prevailing view. The prevailing view was that the Ottoman army and the Ottoman Sultan must be congratulated for their magnificent victory in the year 1453 in conquering Constantinople. And when I challenged this view, from that day to this day, there has been fierce, very fierce opposition and resistance from those who are die-hard supporters of the Ottoman Empire. Many of them Sufis. I will refrain from mentioning the name of any Sufi movement or any Sufi order, but that should not be difficult for my listening audience to find out. This fierce resistance arose because I challenged the narrative. I said that when the Ottoman army surrounded Constantinople in 1453, the Ottoman Sultan had about 200,000 men fighting with him. And the Orthodox Christian patriarch, I don't remember his name, in Constantinople, probably had about 8,000 or 9,000 men to defend the city. That's all. And yet those Christians put up a very fierce resistance, and they fought with exceptional courage in defending that city. But what is interesting is that I argued in that lecture that the Quran has declared that if your enemy does not want to fight, if your enemy wants peace, does not want war, then Allah Most High, the Lord God, commands you that you must reciprocate. That's a big English word, meaning if they want if they want peace, you are prohibited from fighting. Yes. If they want peace, you are prohibited from fighting. بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وإن جنحوا للسلم فاجنح لها. And if they incline to peace, you must reciprocate. The Orthodox Christian patriarch in Constantinople in the year 1453 did not want war. He wanted peace. And he offered to pay what is known as a tribute to the Ottoman Sultan, which he was paying before, in order to maintain a peaceful relationship. What the Ottoman Sultan did was to defy Allah Most High, defy the command of Allah Most High, the one God, in the Quran, which prohibited him from fighting if the Christian patriarch wanted peace, and he wanted peace. And when he violated the law of war in Islam, the war which he was waging was no longer jihad. There is only one war that a Muslim army can fight. Only one, not two. only one, and it's called Jihad. It's a holy war. The European Christians call it a crusade, but in the Quran it's Jihad, a holy war. So now then, when the Ottoman army rejected the Quran, violated the Quran to wage war in 1453 against the Orthodox Christian Constantinople, this was no longer a jihad, this was a bogus jihad. And when I said that, it has provoked a storm of protests amongst mostly these Sufis in Turkey and in the Balkans. The rest of the world of Islam never responded like that. In fact, since 2011, during these last 13 years, largely because of the internet and my profile as a serious scholar of Islam and the proof from the Quran, I'm happy to tell you, Marco, that in an increasingly large number of Muslims who still have a capacity to think are now convinced that I am correct, and that this was not a valid jihad, and this was a bogus jihad in 1453. And I am confident, since this is truth, not only the truth will prevail, you cannot destroy it, not even with a bulldozer. No one can destroy truth. And this is truth. That the Ottoman conquest of Constantinople in 1453 was not a valid jihad. It was a bogus jihad because it violated Allah's command in the Quran that if the Christians wanted peace, you are prohibited from fighting them. And the Christians wanted peace. They did not want war. They had only 9,000 men. And they were prepared to continue to pay the tribute. And so the chorus of hostile responses to me has been continuing since that day to this day. They're not prepared to accept the truth is in the Quran. In fact, I have something to disclose to you, Marco, that about a month and a half ago, I went to Andalusia in Spain for the first time in my life. My student there has established a small institute of Islamic eschatology in his cafeteria. And this was my first visit to Andalusia in Spain. And he and his team organized for me to deliver 2 public lectures in Andalusia, or Giva. And I won't mention the name of the Sufi movement, but it's easy for you to find it out. The Sufis there in Orgiva hated me so much, despised me, were so hostile to me, that they prevented him from organizing the 2 public lectures. The brainwashing was so thorough, they could not stomach the truth. This is the news I'm conveying to you, Marco, and to the Orthodox Christian world. And so we had to cancel the lectures because of the hostile response of those Sufis who are committed and supporters of the Ottoman Empire. Whether the Ottoman Empire is correct or misguided still is about it. This is brainwashing. In French, they have a term for it, lavage de cerveau, brainwashing. I went on in that lecture in 2011 at the International Islamic University in Malaysia. And as I told you, they'll never invite me again, to point out that after the Ottoman army had fought against the Christians and defeated them and conquered Constantinople in the year 1453, the first thing that the Ottoman Sultan did when he entered Constantinople, the first thing that he did, which meant that this was pre-planned, this was the icing on his cake. This is what his heart longed for. And so that Ottoman Sultan was pursuing an agenda which resonates to this day, that he went to Hagia Sophia, which was, as you know, Marco, the greatest Christian cathedral in the world after Jerusalem. And it had retained this status for 1,000 years. This was no ordinary building. And it was a splendor to behold. When Hagia Sophia was built, it was a wonder to behold, one of the wonders of the world. And what the Ottoman Sultan did was to again violate Allah's command in the Quran. But the Sufis of our Giva don't want to hear this. And Turkey does not want to hear the Quran. Turkey does not want to hear the Quran because Turkey's supreme loyalty is not to the Quran. The Turkish supreme loyalty is to the Turkish race, not to the Quran. It caused me great surprise when I realized that. It caused me great pain in my heart when I realized that. But these people in Turkey, these Muslims in Turkey and in the Balkans, that their supreme loyalty was not to the Quran, not to absolute truth in the Quran. They betrayed the Quran. Their supreme loyalty is to their race, the Turkish race, and to the Ottoman Empire. So when he converted Hagia Sophia to a masjid in 1453, I said it was shameful. I said it was disgraceful. I said it was manifestly sinful. And this was perhaps, I don't know if I'm wrong, the first time in almost 600 years that a prominent scholar of Islam has stood up publicly to denounce what the Ottoman Empire had did to Hagia Sophia, as well as in the conquest of Constantinople. No one could do this in the Ottoman Empire when the Ottoman Empire was alive, because you would lose your head. They would crucify you on a pole. That's their style. But the Ottoman Empire, thank Allah, has gone. It disappeared. And now we have freedom to speak. And I use that freedom, I enjoy that freedom to proclaim the truth. In 2011, at that lecture at the International Islamic University. And I have to share with you, my Orthodox Christian viewers of this video, there in Belgrade and the rest of the Balkans, and even in Turkey and in Russia, I have to share with you this good news that my students and I have been working very hard these last 13 years. And through the internet, The good news is that an increasingly large numbers of Muslims around the world now accept that the conversion of Hagia Sophia to a masjid was wrong, was sinful. I visited Pakistan, which is a pivotally important part of the world of Islam. I visited Pakistan in 2019, 3 years ago. And I spent 5 months in Pakistan, and I traveled around the country. When the Turkish government reconverted Hagia Sophia to a masjid for the second time, all of Pakistan applauded. All of Pakistan were happy that Hagia Sophia is no longer a museum. This is what Mustafa Kemal had done in 1935. But Hagia Sophia now, for the second time, is a masjid. And all of Pakistan applauded. But when Pakistan started to listen to what I was saying and realized the proof from the Quran that this was prohibited, haram, and this was prohibited by Allah in the Quran, to take a Christian cathedral and convert it into a masjid. For whatever reason you do it, when the Ottoman Sultan did it, I do think he said, I am doing this because of that, what you did, and what you did there or there, the other. No. His agenda was pre-planned. This is what he wanted to do. He wanted to conquer this city and then take this cathedral and convert it into a masjid, because my Islamic eschatology told me that he was pursuing a sinister agenda to sabotage the end time friendship and alliance between our two peoples. You are a people who follow Jesus, the son of the Virgin Maryam. And we are a people who follow Muhammad. Allah's blessings be upon them all. The Son and his Virgin Mother and the Prophet. And these are the only two people in the world who believe that Jesus was the Messiah. There are others who reject him. They say, no, he was not the Messiah. He was a bastard. And we don't accept him as the Messiah. They are called Jews today. And I must have the freedom. You can't take it away from me to call a spade a spade. And the Jewish world rejected him as the Messiah. And to this day, you could see it in all the blood in Gaza. Our people are being slaughtered in the broad daylight of history because we accept him as the Messiah. And you accept him as the Messiah, but they reject him. And so, the Orthodox Christian world must be very happy to know that these two people who accept that the Messiah is Jesus, that the Messiah came, that the Messiah left, and that the Messiah is coming back. These two people are destined, based on our eschatology, the Quran and the Hadith, to come together in friendship an alliance in the end time. That is the cornerstone of my Islamic eschatology, and it is supported by the Quran. And so the sinister agenda with which the Ottoman Sultan prepared to wage war on Constantinople, the sinister agenda which led the Ottoman Sultan, the first thing he did after conquering Constantinople was to go to Hagia, Sophia, and convert it into a masjid. And that sinister agenda was meant to sabotage what we are now witnessing. You can't stop it. You can grind your teeth, you can bite your fingers. You can't stop it because it is destined to happen. It is in the Quran, and the word of truth will spread all over the world that these two people are destined to come together in friendship and in alliance in the end time.